without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the stage my mentor and friend, the ever-glamorous Penina Shepherd.
Thank you very much for the warm introduction, Ibrahim. So, welcome to the Acumen Business Convention 2017. There are hundreds of us. This is really, really exciting to see so many of you here today. What I want to talk to you about today is the business of happiness. So here's the million-dollar question. What is happiness? And us as humans, we're really interested in happiness. We all want happiness. Without even knowing perhaps the person who's sitting on your right and the person who's sitting on your left, you can guarantee that they want happiness just like you. And for this reason, happiness was a topic that scientists were fascinated by. They also wanted to find out what are the ingredients for happiness. And there's been an extensive scientific research about it, but all scientists agree that there are two types of happiness. There is short-term happiness and long-term happiness, and they are different, very different things. Short-term happiness is the sort of joy that we feel. Sometimes it may last days, but most of the times it's minutes or hours, because something happened and it fills up with joy. You know, things like this.
The question is how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region. Do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. My apologies.
What does this mean for the region?
My apologies. South Korea's policy choices on North Korea have been severely limited in the last 6 months to a year.
It's pure joy, isn't it? That's that kind of thing. But it takes us back to the question of, you know, the long-term happiness. What it is that what are the ingredients for long-term happiness? We're talking about scientists who were doing research to find out the ingredients of happiness. So Sean Akel, who is a Harvard researcher for the science of happiness, that must be such a cool job. His job was actually to research happiness with Harvard students. And he had a family visit one day, and this is, by the way, a picture of Harvard University, not something from Harry Potter. And he was showing them around, and the family member said to him, "What's the point of doing happiness research on a Harvard University student? What could possibly a Harvard University student be unhappy about?" And what Aker explains is that really the key to understanding happiness is in that question. The key to understanding the science of happiness is in that question, because that question assumes that it is our external world which determines our level of happiness. So if you are a Harvard University student, surely you're happy, because this is what I know about your external world. But actually, if I know absolutely everything about your external world, if I know what house you live in, the size of your house, what car you drive, if you're married, if you've got children, statement of your bank accounts, what work do you do, I can only predict 10% of your level of happiness. So what often happens is that money is being equated to happiness. And you can understand why, because we often think, well, if I can have, you know, more money, whatever more means to each of us, you know, I can buy that house I really want, or I can get that car, or I can go on that holiday. Wouldn't it be fantastic? And what happens then? We create almost an equation where we think the more money we have, the happier we're going to be. So scientists wanted to check that. Is that true? Is it true to say that the more money you have, you're actually happier? And this is a book that I literally just finished a couple of weeks ago. I cannot recommend it enough. A Brief History of Humankind, Sapiens. A fantastic, fascinating book. And he dedicates a chapter in the book about happiness. And what he explains in the book is that actually money does make you happy. But the interesting thing is only up to the poverty line. And he gives an example that if you're a single parent with 3 children and you're earning £500 a month, so you're below the poverty line, and then as from tomorrow you'll be earning 2,500 or 3,500, it will have effect on your long-term happiness. But if you're above the poverty line, it doesn't make any difference to your long-term happiness. So if there's someone in this room or anywhere earning 25k, and as of Monday you'll be earning 50k, it doesn't mean that your level of happiness will double. You may be 10 times happier, you may be 3 times more miserable. The point is, it doesn't correlate. There will be short-term happiness for sure, but we are talking here about long-term happiness. Basically, it's like our happiness thermostat, when we go back to, after, there'll be ups, there'll be down, but we all have a thermostat where we go back to, and that is our happiness level. He explains the illness makes you unhappy. That's probably not surprising. But the interesting thing about that is only if the illness constantly gets worse. So if it stays the same, it doesn't actually affect your long-term happiness. So it creates a paradox whereby, say Jane earns £5,000 a month, she has an accident and now she's limping for the rest of her life. So it doesn't get any worse. But if we take the same Jane, who earns 5k a month, and we give her what we would all consider a much better future, and let her win the lottery, actually her level of happiness, long-term happiness, there will be no difference in these two circumstances. But then, you'd say, yeah, right, give me some of this money and I'll tell you if that's true, with all due respect. So, with all due respect to these scientists, even if we say, okay, do you know what, I just don't believe it, I'm not sure that's true. Well, I'll ask you to think of these people. And there's more, I just didn't want to do hundreds of slides. We all know in this room that these people had more money of everyone in this room combined and double and triple. They had mansions, they had big cars, they had fans, they had millions of pounds in their bank accounts. And all of them, their death was brought about to do with unhappiness. And look at the most recent case of Aaron Lennon, the Everton football player, who was found at the side of the road and he's suffering from severe depression. All the newspapers' headlines were saying the next day, what has he got to be depressed about? He's young, he's healthy, he's playing for a top football team, he earns £55,000 a week, he's got beautiful girls all the time. Because what are we doing? We're looking at his external world to assess his level of long-term happiness. And that's the proof that it doesn't work. It doesn't mean that if you're rich or a celebrity that you will be unhappy. There are many rich people and celebrities that are happy. And there are many people above the poverty line who are miserable and who are happy. The point is, they are not related. Your level of happiness doesn't fluctuate with your level of income. So this is about our happiness as people. Well, let's look at it from a business perspective. If I said to you, what is the formula for success? So this is quite a simple, straightforward one. Aim at what it is you're trying to achieve, work hard at it, and you'll be successful. It's not very controversial, you can't really argue with it. If we want to achieve something in business, first of all, we need to know what it is, we need to aim for it, we need to work hard, and then we'll be successful. But what this slide doesn't tell you, because it takes it as a given for all of us in the room, I can almost guarantee, that we all believe that when we reach that trophy, when we are successful at what it is that we set, that we will be happy. For us, it's an automatic outcome. If we aim at it, we work hard at it, we'll be successful, we'll be happy. And that's the point, again, because we're doing it in business as well. We believe that it is our external world that will affect our level of happiness. So what happens, we created like a false graph in our mind. We have a situation whereby we believe the more income we have, the more successful we'll be, the more happiness, the happier we will be. That's the graph. We keep fluctuating the level of happiness with our level of income and success. And then we think, okay, I want some of that. You know, you see all the other people who are doing really well with their income and their success, and you think, I want that as well. And then what happens to all of us in business? We become entrepreneurs. So for the one person in the room I haven't managed to tell that I wrote a book last year, so this is for you. And I launched it on this stage this time last year, and it was published in June. And entrepreneur is a term I coined in the book, which had quite a lot of, made quite a lot of waves in an interesting way. And I go into great detail about it in the book. I'm not going to do it here, but very briefly, the point of that is that entrepreneurs in business are no longer driven by their passion, by their dream, by their purpose, but driven by income. Other people are driven, people want to make money, and that's absolutely fine. The difference between entrepreneurs and other people is for them, their drive is money because they believe that will generate them happiness. So, going back to the beginning of the presentation, so what is happiness? It's not money, it's not our external world, it's not our possessions. So what is happiness? Well, according to the scientists who've been researching that, there are 5 main ingredients for happiness. The first one, strong family, friends, and community links have been proven to increase long-term happiness. That's shown direct effect to long-term happiness. And the paradox that is created here, I can guarantee that if you knew Tom from the IT department, an IT department somewhere, who earns 3K a month, Tom is ill, but the illness doesn't get any worse, and Tom has strong family, friends, and community links. But you also know Richard, who is a multimillionaire, who is a healthy person, and has poor family, friends, and community links. And if you had to guess who is likely to be happier, I think most of us will go for Richard. But actually, according to science, long-term, Tom's situation is happier than that of Richard. The second thing that scientists tell us is the second ingredient for long-term happiness is the lens through which we view our world. If you remember, I said that if I know everything about your external world, I can only predict 10% of your long-term happiness. That's because 90% of your long-term happiness is in the manner in which you interpret your external world. There could be 2 people that had the same fate, if you like. If it is their house burnt down or something happened to them, or if we take a less extreme example, they're both stuck in traffic on the M25 trying to get to the same meeting in London. And they will both act and behave in a completely different way because they view their external world differently to the other person. And if you can control that, it's been proven from a business perspective, you are 31% more productive and 37% better at sales. If you can do that for yourself, but also in the business world. The next ingredient for long-term happiness is to make sure you don't pursue happiness. There is one thing that guarantees us not finding happiness, and that is the pursuit of happiness. Happiness isn't something that you can pursue and find externally. It is an outcome of a deep and meaningful experience within you. The point is that your happiness level does not fluctuate in parallel to your financial fluctuation, not in the long term. You cannot count happiness. Happiness is something within you. It's like hunger. You can't say, I'm going to go out there and get some hunger. It's something that is happening within you. And it is exactly the same with happiness. This is a big one, and I'm guilty of that. The moving of the goalposts fallacy. What Aker explained, that scientist from Harvard, is that we have a goalpost in our personal life and also in business. We say, right, let's say in business world, we want to open a new division. So remember the formula. I aim at it, I work hard at getting it, and then I'm successful. So we do that, and then we got it. We've opened our new division today. what happens almost immediately is that the goalposts move in our mind somewhere else. Well, now that I've got the new division, I really need to get these top 5 clients. I need to make sure I find 3 sales executives, and I need to buy this machinery. You completely forgot that you've just opened a new division that you so wanted to get. The goalpost has moved. And what Aker explains, what happens in our brain never gets to experience happiness, long-term happiness, because the goalposts keep moving all the time. This is something to really watch out for. And the last thing is that life is good, and life is good now. That's the ability to be positive about the present, the double P. And that's not easy because of the goalpost fallacy. We're all thinking, okay, what's next? What's next? I'm not going to delay on the now. And scientists show that if people who have the ability to be positive about the present has a direct effect on their long-term happiness. So, to summarize the 5, strong family, friends, and community links, choose the right lens to view the world, stop pursuing happiness, because that's definitely will not get you there. If you reach your goal, don't think that necessarily equates to happiness, and be positive in the present. And as the business guru Seth Godin said, when you are able to expose your work and your process to the right thing, to the metric that actually matters, what is it that actually matters to you, to your long-term happiness? When you're able to expose your work to that metric, good things happen. And of course, we want you to go there. We all want our level of happiness to be as high as we can, and we want you to make good things happen. But the only thing I would say, don't leave it too late, because sometimes it is now or never.